Good evening all once again. My final duty on this council is to open the annual meeting of the Parish Council. And to be properly constituted, the council needs to elect a chairman. Therefore, could I have a proposal for chairman of the Parish Council, please? Is that seconded? Seconded. Are there any other proposals? Therefore, Norman will be is duly the chairman of the Parish Council. It was questioned once before whether election in this case is necessary. It is not. According to our standing orders, it only occurs if more than one person is nominated. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
I shall leave. Unfortunately, I've got an appointment tomorrow morning, which I'd rather not make. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on.
Can I have the vice chair?
So, to complete the agenda item, we now need to nominate a vice chairman. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Liz. Or proposals.
I nominate Colin, who's absent.
So do I have a seconder for this? Seconder for Colin? So from those present who can vote in favour of Liz? And a vote in favour of Colin? 3 each.
No pressure.
No pressure.
35 seconds in.
My casting vote on this occasion goes with Liz. Okay, just to make sure everybody's aware the meeting's being recorded. We're actually going to record it from the table from now on and make that recording available because it helps the clerk to actually understand and be able to go back and check on what's been going on in the minutes and things like that. You might have noticed on the agenda that possibly a closed session later in the meeting. We'll come to that point when we come to that particular agenda item. So I want to take you through that process and then the council will decide as to whether they want to exclude the press and public from the discussion. Apologies for absence.
Yes, Colin Reid, Bill Chappell and Mike Collins.
Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest under 15.68. I'm declaring an interest and requested dispensation from the client.
I've also requested dispensation and notified the clerk as well, Mr. Chairman.
I've also requested a dispensation and notified the clerk.
And the decision has been on those.
The dispensations have all been granted.
Okay, thank you. I'll sign the form. So this is my declaration of office, which I have to sign before we go any further in the meeting.
Yeah.
So, minutes of previous meetings. We've got two to review and sign off today, I think. Yeah?
Should be the first two that you come to.
So these have been circulated to the previous council, and I know comments were incorporated and also been circulated to the new councillor. So the first one we're looking at is the minutes of the 1st of April, the last parish council meeting. Any residual comments or observations on those minutes?
We're talking about the 1st of April, aren't we?
1st of April. fine, okay.
The law says that they're correct as presented by the clerk, so on this
Fine,
occasion.
initial those. The challenge we have is that there's only one councillor on the table who's actually at the last meeting in that capacity.
Can I just ask for the benefit of us newbies and everyone that's here, is do people know where to find the minutes?
I've changed that bit on the website. I've changed the wording slightly to now signpost people to where they are, but they are under calendar,
Yeah.
so it's not immediately obvious. But if they go to meetings, it now says look under calendar.
Okay.
Um,
I only asked because I had problems finding
Yeah.
them. So
I get a lot of that.
fine.
It should be easier now.
So the second set of minutes was for the extraordinary meeting. Thank you. The extraordinary meeting. That's okay. That's right. So, an extraordinary meeting had to be called on the 29th of April, just so you were aware of the context of it. The council had to move swiftly to put a marker down against some possible Section 106 money, and that had to be completed by the end of April, so hence a short notice extraordinary meeting was called, not a planned exercise. Again, those minutes have been circulated in the past, and current members, any observations from around the table on those minutes? Thank you.
Could we go back to 59? Confirmation of council's acceptance.
Oh yes, of course. Yep.
So have we done with this?
Yes, done that. So I'm just going to step back to the previous agenda item 15059, sorry, 15.59. Just to confirm, we haven't missed out a step in terms of all the councillors signing and submitting their declarations of office. They were all done on Monday night, and you've had all those fully signed up.
I have, and if you don't mind, I'd like to ask everyone to just introduce themselves. Is that all right?
Perfect, fine.
Can we start at the end?
Hi, I'm Susie Beaumont. I teach at a local school. I've got a position on the council.
Hi, I'm Alan Mooney. I live up in Bishopsfield. We've lived here for 23 years, and this time of the year you'll normally find me labouring on my wife's allotment.
Hello, I'm Jean Saligar. I live further up the road as well. I've been on the council since last July, and I've decided to have another go.
My name's Pete White. I've lived in the village for 49 years now, in College Road South, and with my wife who was born and bred in the village, so just getting to know what's going on now. So.
That's what you think.
So you know my name, I'm Norman Saligar, obviously husband of Jean, and my first term as a parish councillor.
Hello, I'm Terry Comerford. Don't hold it against me, but I was born and bred in Bearton. 4 miles as a crow flies, or whatever. I've lived here for 13 years. My day job is a surveyor dealing with commercial property, and I'm looking forward to getting involved in all the sort of agenda items that we see before us. I'm happy to hear from any of you.
Hi, I'm Liz Tubb. I've only lived here for 8 years, so I clean absolutely nothing at all. But I'm very pleased with Park Parish Council, and again, like to be happy for anyone to approach and talk to me about any issues they may have.
Hi, I'm Callie Birch. I run the Rothschild Arms down Western Road, and I've lived here all my life, and I'll see what I can do for you all in the next few years.
21 years.
Yeah.
Smoothly.
Okay. All right. Okay, so next agenda item, matters arising, Stablebridge Road development.
Yes, because that was an area of real concern at the last meeting. This is the email I've had from the contractor, the engineering company, this morning. He says basically, as it was a natural substance and no harm could be done to wildlife within the stream, We have been advised to leave the stream alone and let it naturally drain away, as any remediation to the stream could cause natural habitats to be disturbed. Going forward, we are pumping water into holding tanks called settlement tanks and then releasing the water into the system. This gives the chalk deposits time to settle, and we are pumping the final clean water through a filter to remove most of the remaining chalk, instead of what was happening, as it was being pumped straight from the hole into the water system without being filtered. I hope this answers any questions you may have. I trust we are being respectful towards your village, as we as a business have it at the forefront of our aims to go about our job with the least amount of disruption possible. And I have you to thank, I think, for involving the Environment Agency in that as well. So it seems to have worked.
Okay, anything else, Madam Chairman? Fine. So moving on to public participation, opportunity for you to ask questions. Clearly with a new council, answers may not be forthcoming immediately. But the remit in standing orders is to get back to you verbally or in writing by the next meeting. And if we can answer questions during the course on subjects that relate to the meeting in future meetings, which relate to the agenda in future meetings, we will attempt to do so, making sure you get a quality answer. So,
is there anybody on the council who's really good at hot and finances? I think that's a nice even deal that these are on.
we will be looking at the appointments to the various committees shortly on the agenda, and we will take that point on board. I think it's fair to say that Jeff Plowman has offered his services to help us through a transition.
Brilliant.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to raise just a few points with you. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate the 7 of you that have just been elected to be councillors, and just remind you that normally you'd be sat alongside me at the back, fighting and chumping.
Can we have a question, please?
Yes, certainly, he's coming, but just the 3 minutes. And I'm pleased that hopefully you'll try and get the Parish Council back on track. But one of the main objections from the public was that the meetings were constantly going into camera. You, along with me, were championing all the time to get the meetings open to the public. So I'd just like to seek reassurance from you, Mr. Chairman, that where possible, most of the meetings will be held in the public domain and not constantly going into camera. I'm further asked that in the past month my council tax bill has risen by something like 270 quid. We know the reason why. But is it going to be possible that during the course of this year with your Finance Committee you'll be able to go back in line with inflation, indeed see my council tax bill go down next year rather than remain at its current rate? Because at 2,600 quid I think that's a lot of money. So that's one of the second things. We also, sitting alongside me here, champion for transparency, which we never got, because we always got dismissed by Maxwell. And constantly on most of us.
I would ask you to be cautious about any legal accusations.
Okay,
to
well,
an individual.
some of my comments against the chairman were dismissed, and some of them just blatantly ignored. And so, therefore, I'm just asking that to remind the new councillors that have sat, transparency should be forefront in what you're sitting down to do, and that your meetings should be open to the public where possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on the closed session ones. We're very clearly guided by the law and by our standing orders, and you will see that enacted this evening. On the council tax, we note your point, and we will be obviously looking at the whole matter of precepts and things in the course of time with the Finance Committee. Okay.
Thank you.
And every meeting is open to the public until closed by a motion of the councillors.
As a trustee of ALF, the charity that's running Green Park, I'd just like to sort of welcome the new people on board and hope that we could open a dialogue to sort of get closer with the village, which it always should be. You know, it's not a competitive thing, you know, it is part of the village. And I'd just like, through the chair, if you could maybe give some time to come and talk to Amanda Foyster, the Chief Executive of the charity, to just start that dialogue.
We'll take note of that, and
Thank you.
well, maybe we'll engineer that through the Facilities Committee, which has that sort of relationship, rather than the chair doing anything in particular, but we'll take it on board. Anything else?
The matter of the minutes being published, in the past there seems to be quite a long time before the most recent minutes have appeared on the website. Now, I'm not quite sure what the procedure is, but all I ask is if they can be put on the website as early as possible.
Yeah, they only have to go out when they're signed off at the meeting. They go out after they've been signed off.
So that's the legal requirement, is for them to be approved by council, signed by me, and then published.
We have had draft minutes on the website before. Now, why can't we have draft minutes?
We'll take that point away and look at the
I think
implications of
that
it.
would add on to the transparency.
Yeah,
Because we can't query anything.
Just one at a time. Thank you.
If you just publish the minutes on, we can't query it then. You put a draft minute on and we don't approve it, we can come back to you and say this isn't right.
Well, we'll take your comment on board. I'm not going to attempt to respond to it. Thank you.
Sorry, just a very small point about public participation. Is it possible that it's considered that that part's put back to the end of the meeting? Because the agenda obviously isn't over and we might find something we want to ask about later on, and the participation's then closed.
Yeah, the best practice, if I may speak on that one, the best practice from the National Association of Local Councils is to have it at the beginning of the meeting, which gives the council an opportunity to answer questions either at that point or during the conduct of the meeting, like if there was a planning question that you asked, then the planning, I would look to the planning spokesperson in the meeting to attempt to answer that question for you. If you ask questions at the end of the meeting, we can't go back over the ground again. That has to then be carried forward to the next meeting, so it actually serves you worse than having it at the front.
Is there an application to have 2 public participations so that we can accommodate your wishes and the public's?
Well, it's not my wishes, it's the way in which the best practice is laid down. It's not our wish.
Accommodate best practice then and potentially the public's wishes. Based on previous meetings, of course, the transition is going to roll out every month from now on, moving forwards, hopefully. But it did become apparent that the transparency wasn't given to the public until the end. At that point, we don't know what's going on until we've had the meeting.
I'm not sure I understand that line.
If we have an opportunity to have the participation towards the end of the meeting, we can also ask questions about what's been discussed in the meeting on the agenda.
We'll take that point back and have a look at it as a council and see how we can work with that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
If I may, I think that I'd support the idea of having maybe one at the beginning, which is the best practice, but at the end, folk may want to understand or clarify some points raised. So maybe there's 2 distinct sorts of questions. There's issues related to last minutes or agenda, but at the end of the meeting, there might be something burning. I'm thinking, I don't understand that, and perhaps it could be clarified before I leave the room. So I think there is a case to say a short session at the end of the meeting for clarification type issues. Not particularly new ones, but something you said at 9:15 and I didn't remember or didn't understand it.
I understand your point, so as I say, we'll take that on board and we'll look at it again. We are slightly hidebound in local authority public sector work by the structure of meetings. We don't have a free rein, and that's part of the constraint that we have to operate within. Did I have a question over here?
Thank you, Chairman. Congratulations and good luck to the new councillors. Can this new council make neighbourhood plan a priority? Because until we have that in place in Aston Clinton, speculative developments can come and try and build on the village, whether we want it or not, until the Vale of Aylesbury local plan is in place, which could take another two to 3 years maybe. It depends on the inspector, and as we know, has been fraught with problems over the last few years. So this parish can go a long way. It's already been demonstrated in Winslow with a strong neighbourhood plan with the backing of the community that inspectors do listen to these plans and will take them into serious account when looking at appeals from developers.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hold on, I'll come to this in a moment. The last council endorsed the neighbourhood plan and budgeted for it. Councillor Colin Reid put that forward. Councillor Colin Reid still on the council. Councillor Liz Blake was co-opted onto the planning committee. Therefore, if you're in a position, can you give some statement, reassurance, whatever
I can. I'm on the Neighbourhood Planning Committee anyway, and that's met a number of times. I wasn't mentioning this in the planning report, which I'll go through later on the agenda, but basically, yes, Neighbourhood Planning is very high priority for this parish council. We are putting it together. The boundaries have been agreed with AVDC. We applied for a grant 2-3 weeks ago now, which will help fund it, although the parish council itself has also given us some money towards it. We're hoping to have a meeting this Saturday, I think, to continue to move it forward. So we are moving it forward as quickly as we possibly can. And it is absolutely a priority of this parish council.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Anything else? Fine. Thank you very much indeed. Clerk's report.
I would like to welcome our new council on board and say that I'm looking forward to getting on with the work for this parish with you all. Also to congratulate our district councillors who have always been so supportive of us. With 9 new councillors, we have 2 places available to co-opt members onto the council. It's important that now that we look at the skills and experience of the people that we've got before deciding who to invite to apply. In the meantime, anyone who is interested can send me an email with a brief bit about themselves and I will keep those on file. There's no immediate rush and we intend to advertise locally with a view to inviting interested people to come and talk to us at our September meeting. In the meantime, our work carries on as normal. We will be looking to establish links from this new council to other organisations and partners in the village, such as the Anthony Hall Committee and the Local Area Forum. With regard to Remembrance Day, I've spoken to Teresa Kirkland, who has expressed an interest in continuing to organise this, along with the British Legion. So it could be that the Parish Council may no longer be running that event, but we would of course be happy to work alongside Teresa and her committee in whatever way we can to help.
Fine. And correspondence that we've received? Leading to highlight.
Yes, this will be passed around. You're responsible for passing this on to each other, councillors, and signing to say you have and any actions that you can make on it. We've had an application from the Guides, the county treasurer of the Guides, for a donation for a festival, Bucks Fest, that they're having. The second one is from the Scouts, and it's to do with their decision not to undertake the litter picking that they were going to do for us, and they've explained how they've come to that decision. The third one is from Paul Hodson, who is the localities manager at AVDC, and it's to do with the cutting of the verges. This has been quite controversial. I've had a lot of phone calls about the verges, which thankfully were done last week. But he's explained what the position is, and for now Bucks County Council contractors are still responsible for doing it, not Parish Council. And then the fourth one, I'm so happy to have received a letter from Barclays Bank, and £500 compensation has gone into our bank account for the 4 weeks that they locked us out of our bank account and I couldn't pay anybody. So there's a lovely grovelly letter in here from them. I'd like to read that. Well done. £500.
I can get money out of the bank.
Shall I tackle that? The letter from the Guides, my understanding is that could be an application under section 137.
Yes.
Yeah, section 137 money. So what I would like to do is suggest that that one is picked up by the new finance committee, because I think there's precedent questions that need to be answered, and also it's all about, when you do section 137 allowances, it's all about how many people in the village are actually benefiting from it. So those things need to be quite clearly understood. It's not a yes or no. There needs to be some analysis and research done. So I think that will be one that I would ask that the Finance Committee takes on board and looks at with you to work out an appropriate response to bring back to the Council. That's just the one that I think needs a bit of thought. Okay? Okay. So moving on, in this meeting we have to do something which is unique to this event in the year, unless some changes come through. We have to go through a process of effectively adopting as a new council, the governance documents and other bits and pieces, and it is the opportunity for councillors to put themselves forward to sit on one or more of the 3 standing committees. So the first sub-agenda item on this is the governance documents. Let me set the scene. Standing orders, financial regulations and code of conduct are what we work from and with. They are our sort of Bible in terms of how we behave and the rules and regulations that we have to follow. Some of those are embedded in law, some of them are passed down from NALC and things like that. Those documents were comprehensively reviewed in Q3 last year and brought to the Council in November last year and adopted. So we don't, Phil and I talked about, there don't appear to be any major changes coming down at us to make on those documents yet, but they will go through a formal review process later in the year. What I would do is just look around the table now, because all these have been circulated to fellow councillors, and see if there are any observations or comments that we just need to pick up on. Susie, anything? Alan, that you're very keen? Peter? Callie? Right. So, don't need to vote on them, but we will continue working on those, and as I say, they're on the clerk's plan later in the year to revisit them and make sure we've got them all up to date. Similarly with standing committees, we have 3 standing committees, finance and staff, planning and facilities. The concept of standing committees is passed down as best practice guidance from NALC. You remember the council had a number of small committees and weren't quite so structured and often didn't have terms of reference. So we now have set terms of reference for those, but they're not set in the sense that they're tablets of stone. Not tablets of stone from pre-election, tablets of stone now. Because the important thing is they're within our gift. They're what helps us get those committees to work, and I like to think over the last 3 or 4 months since those committees were established and working to their terms of reference, they've been a lot more transparent, visible, proactive, bringing things to the table in a coordinated manner. So again, I'll look around the table because councillors have had a chance over the last couple of days to look at those. So any observations on those? Because if people want to bring back changes, then they need to bring them back as a motion to change, and that's probably, from my perspective, better done when you as a new committee sit around the table and look at them. But any headline comments on them? Alan? Fine, thank you. Good. So this is fun time now. It's hand showing time. Let's start with. Yeah, you're in your right. Yeah, good. Okay. So, show of hands of those who would be interested to be on the Finance and Staff Committee. Before we have a quorum. Colin expressed a desire to be on Finance and Staff as well. Okay, thank you.
If you didn't, but I put it forward.
No, you did. Thank you. Don't wind me up, don't wind me up. Right. Planning Committee, please. And Colin.
And Colin.
I know Colin for that.
Yeah, he's the chairman.
So we have 4, so we have a quorum. Just as a point of clarification, the terms of reference are currently written shall comprise a certain number. Perhaps when they were drafted they could have been written 5 or more or whatever. It doesn't have to be a head count. So if we have 2 new councillors come on later in the year and they specifically want to go on to committees together, then that doesn't pose a limitation, because when we come to the Facilities Committee, I think that was seriously underscoped in terms of the breadth of responsibility. So let's have a show of hands now for the Facilities Committee.
They're all needed. Lovely.
Yeah, so I think that's unanimous, and Colin wanted to be on as well. So one way or another, we'll be seeing each other. Okay. So thanks for that. That's meant we've got our committees going. Jill's been talking to.
Excuse me, I've got another meeting.
Very well. Thanks for coming. Jill's been talking to councillors about dates in this coming month. The idea is to try and keep the momentum going on various initiatives, planning, facilities, whatever. The council's work hasn't stopped. So those dates are still just being resolved, aren't we? And we'll publish those.
Can we try and resolve the facilities one? Because we do need to.
You want to try and do that tonight? Thank you.
I circulated an email today with 2 dates. I hope you all got that. Friday evening, the 22nd, and Saturday morning, 23rd, I think is better for most people.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Is that all right with you, Toby? Saturday morning?
I can't do Saturday morning.
Can we go with the majority? Would you be comfortable with that?
Would anyone prefer the Friday evening?
Is this facilities?
Yeah.
Facilities.
We've got
The-
stuff we need to do.
The pressure, just for the public's benefit, is such that depending on what comes out of the tenancy occupancy debate later on, that facilities committee needs to pick up the ball and run with it. That's why that one's just a little bit. We would normally have that tonight, i.e. the second Wednesday of the month, and I think that's a desire to try and schedule them such that members of the public as well as the councillors know. Yes.
What time would the meeting be on the Saturday morning?
What time do you start work?
It would be earlier. Earlier would be better for me.
8 o'clock would be good.
What time do you start?
Yeah, 8 o'clock would be
8
good.
o'clock?
As long as you
Okay. We'll leave that one with the clerk to arbitrate.
How much time can you give us if we start at 8?
An hour.
Was that the only line?
I can't get that straight.
Okay, let's take that one offline if we can. But it appears we've got a reasonable majority, or not a quorum to go on. Sorry, a completeness to go on Saturday morning. Yes, and the time to be determined if we can.
And the other dates being the 1st of June for the planning, that's a Monday, and the F&S is the Wednesday, which is the 27th of this month.
All right, thank you. Okay, so on to sub-agenda item 3 on that, processes, policies and procedures. We've got 3 procedures that we introduced at the same time in November last year around complaints, submission and handling, freedom of information and the communication strategy for the council. Again, they've been circulated over the last couple of weeks. So, so we can start with you. Any observations on those so far? Alan?
No.
Peter? Kelly? Fine, okay. Might be 1 or 2 things in future meetings we'll come back to on the communication side of things, because not all things in there have been implemented, so that's something we probably want to discuss with the clerk about how we can move those forward. And the last one item is on that, the last one on that front page is land, assets and insurance. Would you like to give us an update on where we are with the insurance and those aspects?
Yes, the insurance is in place. That doesn't need renewing until October. The asset register is in hand. It's a work in progress.
Fine.
Is that okay?
That's fine. Yes, absolutely fine. Yeah. That incorporates buildings, property, things down in the Greenkeepers compound or Groundsman's compound and things like that. So there's a cross-section of bits and pieces of playground equipment. So they've all got valuations, and those it's the valuations that we're in the process of revisiting at the moment.
It's a labour of love, so I'm hoping that anyone who's on the F&S can help me.
Okay. So the final thing is to look at what's called external relationships, delegations and subscriptions. Bundle those together. I'm actually going to take them in reverse order as they are on the agenda, because SLC, NAUC and BALC are SLC, Society of Local Council Clerks, is Jill's professional body, to which the council pays your membership, yes, and training, and as a source of independent, authoritative advice for you, yes, if I'm quite correct in my understanding. So that, as far as we as council is concerned, that's your interface and you work with them.
Yes, and they meet every 2 months.
Okay. BALC is the Bucks Association of Local Councils, and NAUC is the National Association of Local Councils, and could you just explain our relationship with them?
Yes. Well, BALC is based at Bucks County Council, and they're particularly an advisory body to us, and they deliver training as well, and they will deliver councillor training. I think they're a bit inundated at the moment, but they will get round to us. I did explain that we're very special and we ought to come first in training. They meet, I think it's once a month as well, although I haven't managed to get to one of those yet.
But am I right in understanding that our primary interface is through you with them?
Yes.
Fine, okay. Then we have AVDC and Bucks County Council. Carol Paternoster's here tonight. We've had Mike Collins and Bill Chappell's, apologies. So they are normally invited to these meetings, well, they're always invited to these meetings, and they get copies of the correspondence if we ever write to either of those parent bodies. So copies of correspondence to keep them informed, and obviously we work through the clerk with them on issues and trying to understand things and facilitating the processes for us. Anything else to say on those two? Fine. So then we have three, the R liaison, local area forum, and Anthony Hall trustee. Two of those might be vague, even some of the councillors here. R liaison is a committee that, or a group that does what it says on the tin, between the Arla site and various bodies who have an interest in that space. So the Parish Council's had a representation in the form of Mr Maskell on that in the past. The local area forum is a group that gets together, and from what I've seen of the last couple of sets of minutes, it's principally been involved with discussing things like devolution and budgets and things like that, which this council's not yet got its mind around, and that's a fun topic for us in the future to try and understand and work with. So that appears to have, the first one appears to have a little planning bias to it. The second one appears to have a bit of a financial bias to it, my reading of the thing. And the Anthony Hall trustee, by virtue of being a councillor, Theresa Kirkland was a nominated councillor on the Board of Trustees of the Anthony Hall.
Yes, I just wanted to, if I may, go back to, well, Liz has already expressed an interest in being the Arla liaison from us to attend those meetings. Local area forum, literally about an hour before the meeting this evening, circulated. They are having a meeting Thursday the 21st of May at 7 p.m. at Buckland Village Hall. If a representative could go to that.
So we'll take that offline and we'll look at availability and suitability.
Brand new. It's the Wendover Local Area Forum.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Anthony Hall, I heard from the chairman of the trustees, James Adam. He says, this is as of today, there is no rule that a parish council representative should attend meetings. It's not part of the constitution of the hall, as originally set up in about 1928. Many years ago, the Parish Council made a substantial grant to the Anthony Hall to assist in the replacement of the roof. In view of that substantial grant, the Parish Council was invited to nominate one of its members to serve on the management committee, and John Watson joined the committee. Later, when John was appointed a trustee, Theresa Kirkland was nominated and is now a member of the management committee. And Don Everett has also served and was chairman of the trustees for a term. For many years, these individuals have not represented the Parish Council but have served in their personal capacity as valued members of the Management Committee. The Anthony Hall is now fully self-financing and continues to carry out improvements to the hall at its own expense, and sometimes with the help of grants from other bodies, including the Parish Council. Any member of the public, including members of the Council, are welcome to attend the next AGM, which is on Tuesday the 14th of July at 7 p.m. So.
Okay, that seems to contradict the brief we were given.
Yes.
We'll not take that any further tonight and we'll investigate it further.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of Liz's name and the Arla, can I suggest that is taken within the context of the planning, such that the planning committee looks after that relationship and that forms part of your report? Can I suggest
Absolutely,
that?
and if I can't attend for any reason, somebody else from the planning committee can always it's vital.
I think that will provide the council and the public with the best contact, and that way we don't have the chairman do everything. Okay?
Yeah, totally agree.
Right, so that's that governance committees and processes complete. Anything else that you wish to cover on that? Okay, the point set. Good. Okay. So we're now going to go into our three standing committees, which is just a little bit unusual because, with the exception of G, we don't have any. Or these are certainly in terms of co-opting, but we've got nobody from the finance and staff. So. Do you want to lead us through the numbers side of things?
Yes, sorry, I did need to give these out at the beginning. This is the year-end summary. Could you take and pass on? The year-end figures are actually presented by the previous F&S committee and have been agreed by that committee. So I don't think they need to be agreed, but
No.
it's just for information.
Okay, fine.
Is
And
that-
these are the ones that are on the website?
Yes.
And have been on the website for some weeks?
Correct.
Okay, fine.
And these are the month-end ones. Yes, thank you. And it's just to agree the payments.
And these were circulated yesterday or the day before?
They were, yeah.
So members have had a chance to look at the, sorry, do any members have any comments on the year-end figures?
Can I just ask, is there a requirement for these to be independently audited?
Yes, we're being audited on the 10th of June. They're coming here to do that. And Jeff Bowman has kindly offered to come that day and hold my hand through it.
Okay. Any other comments or observations around the table on the end of year figures first of all?
Not on the year figures, but I would like to say, as somebody who is a lawyer and has no idea about finance, I would quite like to, at some point, just sit down with somebody and have it explained to me, so I can read figures and the blur. And as I'm sitting on the parish council, and it's not criticism, I would just like to understand it. So whether I come to a finance meeting or something similar, whether anybody else wants to do that, I think some better understanding of the finances would be a good thing, even though I'm not going to sit on that subcommittee.
Because we're all pretty new to the finances in local authority law, what I've suggested to the clerk is that if we can persuade him that Jeff could come possibly before we start the formal meeting of the first finance committee meeting, and give us an overview as to what it entails, what are the key milestones, how it's structured, the things around budget heads. So you set aside a pot of money and then you can use the money within the budget head, but you have to make a conscious decision to move money, that sort of stuff, because they had to do a budget head review back in February. So, and that's what we've got in mind, whether you'd be able to attend that in terms of your schedule.
27th of this month.
Yeah.
Can I raise a really geeky question? £555 for street lighting per month. Does that, I know this sounds really
That's the Eon bill.
Yeah, but does that depend on certain lights have gone on and off in the village over the last few years, certain areas are switched off? Is there any control that we have over that, or do they just, some greater power decides, pardon the pun again, which lights are on, and therefore the bill, we have no control over that bill?
We're still kind of getting to grips with the street lighting ourselves. There's 194, is it, lamps?
Yes, there are street lights on the main highways, which are Bucks County Council responsibility, and there are street lights on the side roads, which are Parish Council responsibility. So,
that's the bill for those.
As Jean will be discussing, the side ones.
Yes, the Parish Council ones.
So the side roads, I'm being briefed on my left, is that's what that bill comprises. So read into that as you will, whether they're within our gift.
So they are, whose lights are they? The council's lights, but we pay for the power?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're responsible for the maintenance, the upkeep of the poles.
So, do we know, this is really geeky and I apologise, do we know that they are the best value lights, like low voltage and everything else?
Mr Chairman, can I just say,
yeah.
My report I sent out, did you see my report I sent out? I had a small section about our lamppost situation. It needs a dedicated look at everything. You didn't read it, did you?
All right, okay. All right. It's not a geeky question because it's a bit of an unknown quantity.
Yeah. It needs looking at. It needs looking at.
Okay.
I'm not volunteering, by the way.
Including the need for replacing some, which there are metallic structure whereby they're fragile.
Okay.
Okay, so you would like us to make any observations on the payments to be made now, yes?
Well, I would like you to just okay them so I can pay them,
So
unless there's any...
While we've been talking, people have had an opportunity, particularly it's the finances to be agreed sheet, which is the one with the red and blue prints on it as well. Any observations around the table, Susie?
Only just out of interest, with the phone bill, is that a monthly amount or a quarterly amount?
I'm not sure.
And is that kind of, as our phone bill goes, is that just for in here?
Yeah.
Is a direct debit monthly or quarterly?
It's, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, fine, okay.
No, I will get
Right.
back to you on that.
Okay, fine. Okay. Jane? Kelly?
No, fine. Don't do it for it.
So I take that as a written consent for you to make payments. Can I ask the question about mandate? I know you've had the
Yes.
£500 from Barclays, but how are you placed in terms of, and this is, you know, you've got a job to do, how are you placed in terms of a valid mandate for signatures and things like that now?
A valid mandate is in place. The problem with it is it's me and 2 former councillors
That's what I anticipated.
at the moment. And it's, we've gone through hell just to get to that point. It's taken months and months. And I dread now having to instigate a new mandate change, but we will have to.
I was going to say, so you can make these payments based on the mandate process
Yes,
you've got. Fine.
yes,
So
I
you
can do that.
can do your job. Okay, fine. And we'll pick up, presumably, the finance committee, how we're going to sort out the mandate in the future. Okay, fine. That's been unbelievably helpful. Okay, fine. Thank you. Anything else on finance?
Oh, and Pete wanted to say something.
If I might, please,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Just very briefly on, if I may wear my other hat, I'm a member of PACB, and take this opportunity to thank, I believe Jean is the only councillor, from the last council, but the previous council, for their most generous donation to our sort of fighting fund, shall we say. It was a tremendous amount, and I'd just like to pass on my thanks and all my committee's thanks to the council for that donation. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Move on. Can we look to planning then? Liz, can you give us an update?
Yeah, this is just a very brief update of the planning committee. I think it's very true to say the planning committee has changed substantially in the last few months from being probably a very passive organisation to something that is now a very active approach, mainly because of the number of houses that are proposed and have been approved for the village. And that leads back to what we talked about earlier on. It's one of the things that we're doing in a very active way is the neighbourhood plan. This is being led by a separate subcommittee, of which I was co-opted on, and is run by Colin Reid, and there are other local people in the village that are not councillors, as it should be. They are people we are consulting with. And we have, as I said, we've applied for funding to assist us from the Under Locality Act. We have every belief we'll get that. I took about a couple of hours to complete all the various forms. We've done it, we've got it in, and hopefully that money should be forthcoming. And we believe the money we're going to get from the Locality Act will actually be enough to cover it, even though the Parish Council have allocated further funds, because the number of us are fairly au fait on planning. We think we can do a certain number of things ourselves to save some cash and hopefully speed it up. We have appointed consultants to assist us because it is a complicated process, an awful lot of things you have to do. So we interviewed and met a number of consultants and appointed one particular firm, and those costs should be covered by the grant we're going to get. So it is moving forward. As I said, I believe we're still fumbling back dates a bit, but I think we've got a meeting this Saturday. Not quite sure what time, I hope it's not 8 o'clock. But anyway, I've got a meeting on Saturday, I think, to talk about the movement of the next part of the neighbourhood plan. We have to put we want to put a project plan together as to who's doing what and, and when we're doing it. We're told it takes about 18 months to get one in, but our aim is to try and do it in a year. That is our plan. The other thing the Parish Council is doing is trying to engage the developers and builders to improve the quality of the developments that are coming into the village. Although, as a parish council, we are objecting to every large development that comes in, of course, most of these are being approved. So we also have another role. When those applications have been approved, we have to try and work then with the developers to try and ensure that the developments suit the village, that they're the right kind of style, that they include the kind of things we'd expect them to include. And that's that's not what we want to do. I think we absolutely have to do it, and a very active role has been taken on that part as well. And I wasn't at these meetings. A meeting has taken place with Burway Homes in connection with Chapel Drive, Taylor Wimpey at Stapledge Road, and Carla Homes, who are planning a development of 60, which hasn't come in yet, of 60 homes off Western Road. They haven't applied for it yet, but they obviously will do in the future. A meeting has also been organised and took place with Will Chapel and Carol Paternoster, and we know both of them have written an objective to many developments that are happening at the moment, and we hope that we would actually like another meeting, I think, with you to discuss the future things that are going on, because more is coming, and I think we need to continue to work and oppose these. As you know, we opposed the Brook Street development and opposed the other proposal for the 90 new homes in Apple Drive, and it's just been discussed. This Parish Council gave £750 to Packby. We, as a Parish Council, we also have to look at all the various applications that come through. We get a large number of small applications, and we either object or agree with those. And we've had, in the last few weeks, I'm not quite sure of the timescale, a couple of applications, London Road for an extension, Rosebery Road and Green End Street for an extension, all of which have been we've not objected to. There's also been a detached garage at Home Farm, again not objected to, and a couple of other small ones, one along Aylesbury Road extension, change to London Road, and another one on Chivery Farm, which we've not objected to any of those. There are some other ones which are coming. One is the former piggery on Western Road, which is 72 detached houses. We have, as far as I remember, as right, we have objected to that one, haven't we? Mainly because, although it is an existing building, we feel the roads are already too busy and it can't actually take more houses. We have just had, on Monday, the application in for 50 houses on Aylesbury Road, 93 Aylesbury Road, the demolition of 95, which is a terrace cottage, and then access behind the lawns at 93 Aylesbury Road. There's 50 houses there. That's just come up. The yellow signs went up on Tuesday, I think. And we've also had the one dwelling on the O'Callaghan property, the Christmas tree field. And the last two, the 50 houses and the one dwelling, we haven't as yet, as a parish council, made a decision on what our view will be. But as you've obviously heard earlier on, the planning meeting is on the 1st of June, and that's in time for us to be able to do that. And just to remind everybody as well that although we've got all these various developments coming through, there are still a large number of developments that have not been heard yet by the Planning Committee at ABDC. And these are 5 in New Road, 7 on Woodgate, the new 95 at Chapel Drive, and the 30 at Stratford Close. So why I said at the beginning that this Planning Committee, this Parish Council has to take a different stance is because this village is being inundated, I don't know another way of saying it, with constant development. If you just add the ones that are waiting at the moment, and we don't yet know the dates, so that if Carol can enlighten us the dates for any of those at ABDC, but I don't know. No. So we don't know when they're coming, and then we've got the further 50 that have now just been applied for, and that we believe there's 60 more to come on Western Road. So it is just constant. So we will be an active committee.
Could you just mention the 91 in Brook Street, College Road, the situation with that at the moment, please?
I can. That one is still in the, basically it's been called in to be called in. So and it hasn't changed. And of course, the Secretary of State has now changed to someone called Greg Clark, who I don't know very much about. So I don't know what his views will be and how long it will take for him to get to the ones that have been called in to be called in. So we'll have to wait and see. The only plus side, of course, it means that it stops anything happening, and we believe that the normal agricultural activity is going back on again in that field at the moment.
That Greg Clark, sorry, apparently he did write or helped to write the NPPF.
Yes.
Okay. Toby, can I just ask a question? You talked about the consultants that have been appointed. What's the scope of their instruction, and how will that be reported back? Because my simple understanding is that the reason AVDC cannot oppose these is that there's not a 5-year plan. And then, depending on who you talk to, they'll say there's a 4.6-year supply of housing and across the whole region. So how do we, as a parish, fit into the bigger picture? And what advice will those consultants give us?
They're simply going to help us write our neighbourhood plan.
So that's purely relating to that?
That's all it is, nothing else at all. So they're going to, and what the first step is to write our project plan, our actual detail when we're going to do what, and then decide whether the consultant's going to help us write various things or whether we feel that we as a group can write bits ourselves. I feel there's bits we can do, but it's obviously dependent on how much time we all have.
Does the planning committee and in turn then the council believe that there is a need for a consultant, i.e. people who know about planning, which is a very specialist subject, as advisors on call to us, to inform our decisions?
Look, on the actual planning committee or
No,
neighbourhood
I mean
plan?
on the general, not the neighbourhood plan, but on each and every application, bearing in mind, you talk about 90 here, 50 there. At what point do we see the window closing? Or our advisors see the window closing? Because unless I'm missing something, there is nothing that anybody can do currently. We can shout and scream all we like, but until that window closes, it's going to happen, isn't it?
Sorry, by window you mean?
I mean the window, the 5-year supply of
Yes,
housing.
the Aylesbury Vale plan.
Aylesbury Vale plan.
All we can do is, as a parish council, we're consultees, all we can do is make our views known. I don't think us, taking out the neighbourhood plan, which is a different thing altogether, and I think we do need a consultant to help us with that. The firm we've chosen as Commissioning many neighbourhood plans, I've been hopeful for one. Consultants here on planning matters at the Parish Council, I don't think we need a consultant.
So our stop response is opposition
no, it's
to
not.
larger scale.
Yes. But we don't just send a letter saying we object,
No,
they're detailed letters. But I mean, we can, obviously, that's what we can discuss things that you want
And
to
I think that's appropriate, you know, for if you wanted to. Are you on the planning committee? Just bear with me. I'm going
Yes.
About to be, I think.
Yes,
Okay, fine. So that is something I would suggest that you debate with the planning committee and come to a conclusion, pass a resolution. If you think you need a budget for external consultancy, that's the way to bring it back.
Can I write an understanding that once we develop our neighbourhood plan, that gives us more weight?
At the moment. What my concern is, and this is more of a sort of impartial servant rather than member of Parish Council, we don't know what will happen to the localism act. We just don't know. I think it will probably stay in place. My actual view is I don't think anybody will take it out. I don't think I think the government is aware that there's a large number of neighbourhood plans being progressed at the moment, and I find it extraordinary that the government would turn around and say the whole thing's gone when there must be probably 400 of these neighbourhood plans being written or have been written in the last few months. So I think it will stay, and if it stays, and the Winslow decision stays, and a couple of other decisions stay that we made, then it does carry some weight.
Okay.
And I think it's well worth having. It's got to put us in a better position than we have now. But the neighbourhood plan does mean we have to agree to some building in the village. We can't, even though we've had so much, we cannot say that's it. We have to actually say we want to have, we'll either say we'll take another 100 houses, or we'll say we'll have another 100 and say exactly where we'll have them, but that's when we've got that far.
And the mix. Can we influence the mix?
We can, absolutely. And we know what the village wants. The village wants affordable housing, as it should have.
Any other questions on planning? Okay. So let's talk about facilities, Jean.
Hello everybody, I was chairman of the last facilities committee, and what I've done to help the new councillors, I've sent them around some briefing notes covering every aspect of all the recent developments, going right the way back from sort of grounds maintenance to sports and recreations committees. Hopefully that will give you a complete overview. All that information has been in the public domain in the minutes, so I won't sort of go over that ground again. Everything's fairly quiet at the moment. Nothing untoward is happening. The only thing that is coming up is that Jill and I have received quotes from cleaning companies to give a thorough commercial clean to the pavilion, and also we've had quotes from some electricians to do an electrical condition check of the building so that whichever tenants take over, that everything is safe as it should be, because we obviously own the building. Apart from that, I want to move on to the next item, which is the pavilion tenancy. I'd like to hand over to Mr. Chairman for that one.
Okay, fine. What I want to do is set the scene for the public so they can understand what's going on, and then explain what the council's got to discuss, and explain the significance of any commercial sensitivity, which mean that we could possibly vote to exclude the public or press. But I want to take you through those steps to help you understand what the council's been doing, how it's got to today, and why this is on the table in front of the council today. 16th of January, commercial repossession. So you're probably aware of that. It took 2 months to fully resolve that. 1st of April was the day that the bailiffs came back and everything was emptied out. That building is now completely empty. There's no kitchen, no TV, no sound system, No tables, chairs, nothing. That's why we put commercial clean in there, because there's nothing else to get in the way. In mid-March, an invitation to tender was put out to the public. I should say that immediately after the 16th of January, I think the clerk had about 15, 18 unsolicited expressions of interest which were parked. And when previous councillors with the Facilities Committee had got their mind around what the options were, if you remember, there was the community survey done as well, and that was reported back in February, March time. This invitation, which has been on the website, was distributed to all of those who submitted their unsolicited original expressions and anybody else who came forward. They were given some 3.5 to 4 weeks to submit their expressions of interest. The requirements in here gave a range of options for 1, 2 possible tenants. So people had various things, and tried not to be too prescriptive about what the council was looking for. But clearly, community benefits, an understanding of the commercial benefit for the council, and references and risk scenarios what the council has been looking at. So, working party of the Facilities Committee, under the guidance of the clerk, on the 17th of April, opened all those tenders, which were all submitted in electronic or paper format in sealed manner. And that working party went to work, so to speak, and analysed the individual tenders and have prepared a tender assessment report, because that contains pricing and things like that. That has been summarised into a 10-page tender assessment report marked confidential in commercial and confidential, shall I say, and that has been circulated to the new councillors. I should perhaps just add that the previous council could have taken the decision where to go in terms of tenancy, but they decided very early on in the process and declared it in the invitation to tender that they would get as far through the process as they comfortably could and hope to be able to make a recommendation to this new council. That's exactly where we are. We have a recommendation as a council based on the workings of that previous Facilities Committee. So that was that tender assessment report was circulated to the new council on Monday night, and an overview, a briefing document, just a 4-page document, small print on here. There's a 4-page document was also circulated, which gives the background to help new councillors understand the process, a summary of the procurement process, the summary of the tender assessment, which obviously was accompanied by this document, the Facilities Committee recommendation for occupancy, and that recommendation reads, and this will be desensitised, the Facilities Committee recommends that the Council accepts the tender from Company A and works quickly towards reaching a legal agreement with them for occupancy. That is the recommendation that that Facilities Committee working party presented, obviously with the name of a company in there. It then gives an assessment of the benefits to the community and the council of the proposed way forward, and the initial implications for the council for the proposed way forward, to help these new councillors understand the context. If you want to do certain things by certain days, these are the steps you've got to get in place. Part of the invitation to tender in the instructions to tender is set out what would happen after the council reaches a decision. Now we've got a different set of councillors and some different experiences and capabilities, which is brilliant, because the way this was positioned was a heads of agreement leading to a formal tenancy agreement, but that will evolve depending upon how people now look at it and whether the recommendation today is taken. So the discussion that the councillors have got to have tonight is around that recommendation with the name of a recommended company in the frame to move forward with legal discussions. This will be the point where councillors will be invited to discuss or to consider a motion under Standing Order 11 to exclude the public and the press if they wish to discuss commercially sensitive matters. What I would like to test, though, because I think the council has got to discuss 4 things. They've got to, if they wish to, discuss, challenge, comment on, because we haven't done this as a council, on the process that's been gone through. They've got to, if they wish to, discuss any details of the recommended tender or others in the pack, which we haven't done. they have been given the opportunity to look at those individual tenders. They have to consider the motion for that recommendation, and this is where the goalposts have moved a little bit, because if not all of the councillors have wanted to be on the facilities committee, we could have had a discussion as well about, okay, let's pool all our brains, what steps do we need to put in place? And I think, Toby, you've already indicated that you've got some ideas and probably capture other people's, but we've put some initial thoughts in terms of the way forward, but is there anything else that we should be doing in terms of protecting the council, the asset, or whatever it happens to be, in terms of moving forward with a recommended tender? So the last point we can either discuss tonight, or we could pick up at the 23rd of May meeting. That's an option. What I would be interested to know, by just going around the table, do any councillors need to discuss commercial and confidence matters, and this is appropriate for tenders and pricing and things like that within the context of the public sector? Do any councillors feel they need to exclude the public and the press to be able to discuss commercially sensitive matters about the process that has been gone through?
No.
No.
Can I just think it's about the very detailed process, survey, tender documents, etc. Have the results of the village survey been made public?
Yes.
Yes. I appreciate it on the website, which is
It was presented to council and put in the public domain.
Now, I guess not everybody checks our website every week, every day, every evening, unlike me. But there's a lot of information there, and it's an interesting and emotive subject, and just clear that not just the people in the room, but the people in the village, particularly those that actually took the time to contribute to the survey, get the opportunity to see the results. And I only say that just in the interest of the transparency that we're all trying to deliver.
Yeah, that was there was a flash storyboard put together, I think, for the March meeting, and then a 34 or 37 page document which is straight off the survey. No,
I've seen it.
Cut and slice.
I've seen it. I just want to be sure that there's many other people that have an interest know where to find it.
So that did certainly form an input to the process. Okay, fine. So on the basis of that, councillors appear to be comfortable to accept the process document. Fine. So what I'd like to do now is go around the table and see whether any of the councillors feel as though they need to go exclude the press or public to be able to discuss one or more of the tenders which lead up to the recommendation, having had a day and a half, 2 days to look at the documents. Oh, I'm sorry, I can go the other way. Callie, do you have a desire? I'm sorry, it's nothing personal. I just want everybody to be given the chance to contribute.
No, that's right, the transparency needs to be there, so as long as you say, there's nothing that needs to be discussed behind people's backs as such, I'm quite happy to bring them to know.
So on the basis of what you've read, you're comfortable to move towards the recommendation and to pass a motion, or to consider a motion on that recommendation. That's sort of the nub of the question. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Alice?
Yes.
Most definitely, yeah.
Fine. Are you happy for me to do that? Okay. Or do the motion? Go to the motion. Okay, go to the motion, yeah? Okay, right, so on the agenda we have a motion that Council approves the recommendation of the Facilities Committee for the proposed tenancy of the pavilion. Do I have a proposal for that motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Now a show of, I'd like this to be recorded. Okay.
Yeah.
My name's, thank you. So I'd like a show of hands in favour of the motion.
Technically, we have to ask each one if
So
it's to be recorded.
Susie?
Yes.
Hello? Jean?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ali?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Debbie? And myself. All right. Can I
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
now read the recommendation?
No, you can't read the name.
Okay, fine. Okay. Because we're going into legals.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Right. Okay, fine. I just want to make sure I don't put my foot in it. so fine. Okay, fine. So so we haven't had to go into a closed session. Yes, thank you, Tim.
Without naming names, there was a very succinct summary of pros and cons for each. Is it appropriate to share those findings? Because to me, I know more than the people in the room, but if I was sitting over there, we're talking about company A, but actually we don't know what they're proposing and we don't know why the committee has decided on them as opposed to anyone else.
I'm not sure we can reveal widely the information that people gave us under confidential conduct.
I didn't mean, I meant the recommendation of the committee, i.e. low risk, high benefit.
Oh,
Oh yes.
The summary. The summary. I don't mean the detail. I mean the summary, because at the moment we're talking in riddles.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I agree that.
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate to just read the benefits for the community and the council of proposed way forward, which summarises why a particular company is being chosen? Would that be useful?
Can I look at this? Okay.
Or is that too identifiable?
No, I think I can cope with it. You just put your hand up if you're feeling down. So this company has 9 years of experience of setting up and operating an appropriate enterprise that we're looking to bring into that building. Their proposal represents the lowest risk and highest benefits for the council. Their plan is to provide an operational capability in one area, and they claim that they can achieve it in short order. This is where the council now wants to step back and make sure that due diligence and all those things are done properly, so we don't hastily go in. But we did ask the question, what could you do by when? It would help meet the pressing needs which I know the clerk is getting on a daily basis about access for certain refreshments and facilities and toilets and things like that. So there's some tangible things there for the community. They're prepared to implement at their own expense this requires structural changes to meet the food preparation and hygiene requirements, which is a prerequisite, and they are going to undertake the requirements for decoration. They've placed no dependencies on the council for fitting out the building for their business, enhancing the low risk perspective. They have demonstrated the best appreciation of the council's requirements for community benefits and have said they will work with local groups such as the Scouts, the Church, Youth REA and others to exploit the opportunity of the facility for those sorts of groups throughout the village. They have indicated they are prepared to collaborate and meet the requirements for the Colts Football Fun Day on the 5th of July, which is already in the diary, and may not know too much about that, but there's about 100 teams come visiting, so it's a big thing for the village that day, so they're prepared to honour that thing. And their commercial proposition is the most sensible in the views of that Facilities Committee working party in terms of risk management, long-term benefits, and subject to ongoing negotiations and discussion, their initial proposal for payment is leveraged to feed money back into the council based on every £1 you spend. The council gets a bit back in terms of variable rent. So that had an attractive, I believe that was that okay? Attractive or interesting commercial proposition, but we've got to work that through now with other discussions.
Can I just add something? Can I just say something that the motion, so you all understand what we're doing, we passed the motion to basically approve the recommended person, but we're not necessarily mean that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. What we've yet to do is now go through due diligence and check they can do everything they've said they can do. Make ways of ensuring that the village is protected, look at different ways of doing leases, that kind of thing. So this is not saying that Party X will move in tomorrow and take over. That's not the case. What we're doing is try and move it as fast as possible, but we look at all the various things that we have to do to protect the village, whether it's rent deposits, short-term leases, licences, and due diligence and checking accounts and checking their current business and all those kind of things. It's the beginning of, it's looking at one recommended person, and if that person doesn't stack up, then we'll have to start all over again. But we believe they will, but it is in the beginning, so we're not, this is not, what we've just done is not say that's happening.
Beginning of the end or the end of the beginning?
I don't know, but it's, we're not, it's the beginning of the legal process. It's not saying this person's moving in straight away, so just for clarity.
And this is why I'm delighted we've got some expert advice and support and things like that, because there's more brains working on this now. Good, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not supposed to speak.
No, you can't. Thank you. Anything else from around the table on that particular agenda item? Okay. Any other late urgent items for business today? Right.
Sorry?
Anything else that you think we need to be covering today?
Not today, no.
Just one question. There's been 2 huge signs erected on the roadside leading to the development in
Called
State
Children's in Purple with silver poles.
Huge, in concrete, in the ground. I did go up and have a little chat to them. They said that they had put in planning application for it. No.
Not on my list.
I'm wondering whether it might have been, I tried looking at 01240, I think it is, the original Stablebridge Road application.
It's on Stablebridge Road, isn't it?
Yes.
I've driven past it, not...
Yeah. Well, there's one at the top of the hill and one at the bottom now, obviously to catch passing traffic.
Yes.
So,
quite heavily concreted in.
I think, yeah, it'd be worth just checking.
I'll have a look at that one.
Yeah, well, I'm going to look.
Peter and Diane, okay. All right. Okay. Having heard the agenda and seen us go through a not closed session, any residual questions from the public? Right.
Is it still going to be a 6-month rolling lease contract?
Subject to negotiations.
I think
that's the only bit that wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, we just haven't decided exactly what we're going to do. We know we've just got into this process, and we all had a sort of look at it and thoughts.
I was only thinking of all the things that the said person said they're going to do. It seems an awful big outlay if they're only going to get 6 months. And
no.
It'd be 6 months rolling.
6 months
Oh,
rolling.
an option rolling.
Yeah,
Yes, it's not just 6 months, 6 months rolling.
It's to give flexibility to the council's landlord.
And can I say, all that was in the tender document, so all the people that applied understood
Yeah.
Hi, sorry, I clearly hope I'm asking an irrelevant question. We haven't done due diligence. Have we done any minimal due diligence to even get to this stage before the application's been taken into consideration? Because we might be back to where we were previously.
We're based on the expressions of interest at this stage.
Okay.
I think you can take some comfort that with the people around this table and the various committees, they don't want to go where the council went
That's
before.
why I'm hoping it's an irrelevant question, but clearly...
And any prudent landlord, whether you're the parish council or an insurance company, will go into it in detail. That means taking up references from solicitors, accountants, banks, trade, to get a complete picture.
Just from my business experience personally, just to even reach stage 2 of a tender, there needs to be a minimum financial establishment reached and full credit check before it even gets to stage 2. And from what I'm hearing, we're in the final stages. And I'm just concerned, and I hope it is of irrelevance, that we're going to get to, yeah, this is great, where's the money?
Yeah, fine. Okay, take your point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we assume that due diligence was not done on the previous term?
That's not for this council to answer. Thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you for taking more questions though. Thank you.
Dates and council's next meetings. Oh, meetings for the next year, sorry.
We'll get the list which I sent around today, which I can't seem to...
I'm not read it.
I didn't say a word.
You were looking.
I can put them on there, Toby.
Now you're being tested.
So broadly the first Wednesday.
It's the first Wednesday of the month, and it's not affected by Easter in 2016 because that's the 25th to the 28th of March. So we go ahead with the first Wednesday of the month, and the next one would be June 3rd.
Fine.
And we'll still be sending.
And those will go up on the board outside, to get them in the diaries.
Can I just make a request? In the last council, I moved the facilities meeting to 7:30 to allow people to get home in time from work, and I wanted all the meetings to be at 7:30.
I think have to. I think the 7
I
o'clock
think it's confusing for the general public as well.
Okay, fine. Terry, just want to make a point on accessibility, yes?
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier on in the intro is that we're here, unlike perhaps those that have gone before us, to listen and to meet. And as a result of that, our contact details will be put on a notice board somewhere. Yeah. Everywhere.
They're up.
They're up. There you go. So emails and phone numbers are available.
Okay, fine. Anything else around the table?
No.
Thank you very much for business tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.